Perfect, thank you. Four really, really exciting panelists today. So left to right here, we've got Rebecca Eberg at Bosch, working in corporate design, really, really focused on the usability and the experience that AI offers opportunities around just now. We've got Vivian Xu, Principal Anabasis Partners and a recognized expert in comms, strategy and change. So looking at how we will transition to this new world also. John Tarrant, Managing Partner at DNA Brand Agency, really, really focused on that employer value proposition, employer branding, and how this is going to affect the relationship between companies and their workforces. And then Hussein Genç from Amazon Web Services, focusing on the private equity space as a solutions architect around AI and ML. So I'll pass over to each of them. If we maybe do Rebecca first, just to give a quick insight into how you are working currently and what you cover off in your role.
Yes, so basically, what are we doing at the moment? Of course, as the rest of the world, we are getting to know our way into AI and how it can help us in particular, in my case, brand design. And so we are really trying to find out our way. How can we benefit from it? How can we use the tools? And as you know, there is a huge variety of many, many tools. And so we are just trying to test and find out what kind of tools would be really helping and for what kind of different use cases. So also the range of use cases is really, really big. But we at the headquarters at Bosch, we need to give also guidance to our organization and all the brand designers who work for us. And so to make sure that nobody is lost in that really wide field of AI, we really try to find the right tools, the right use cases, and what is really beneficial for us. And also finding out what are the risks at the moment, because of course I can try anything with my private accounts. The risk might be not that big, but when I do it in an enterprise context, I cannot ignore any kind of risk. So still working here with the legal guys also to find out what is right, what is wrong when it comes to an enterprise perspective, so that in the end we protect our brand and not harm it in any way and harm the company. So there's still work to do, but we are already started to find out how we can use that in the future.
Thank you, Rebecca. John, a brief introduction about your role would be great.
Hi, everyone. So my name's John Tarrant. I'm the managing partner of an organisation called DNA based in Bristol. We're proud to say that we've worked very closely with Paperfly in the UK for, well over 10 years, since the very early days, way back when. At DNA, we're very much thought and practice leaders in all things EVP and employer brand. And we do that for a fabulous list of local, national and global clients. In terms of how we're using AI at the moment, we're using it ourselves, as you might imagine, and we're passing the benefits of AI onto our clients, whether that's, enhancing their programmatic advertising to take it to the next level, or helping them deliver a much more cohesive employer brand globally, down to, the basic deliverables like a great research tool, or, generating unique images from scratch for products that actually don't exist at the moment, or one of the tedious roles that our designers have in studios is to process all of those images and make them fit for purpose, and that used to take weeks and it now takes days. So there's a real benefit internally for us at DNA that we can pass on to clients, but the flip side is what we do outside of the office, which is to take clients on the journey so they can sort of grasp the opportunity and understand the risks and manage them and mitigate against them.
Thank you, John. Viv, tell us a little bit about what you do with clients now.
Hi, everybody. As Craig mentioned, my name is Vivian Xu. I am the CEO, founder, and principal at Anabasis Partners, which is an advisory firm that primarily works with European and North American based clients in finance, tech, and healthcare. And we are really focused on working with sort of C-suite founder-led businesses, both in the startup scale-up space, who are in the process of fundraising, so many of them, virtually all of our clients are using, AI of some kind as part of their offering, as well as listed corporations, which we do a lot of work with regards to change management, business transformation, and business strategy. So AI is pretty much at the top of every client excitement as well as concern. And we're working quite closely with people within sort of different departments at senior levels to really help them understand what they need to embrace and start building into their business strategies and investment strategies, as well as, as John was mentioning, what they do with their talented employees, alongside continuing to build a strong, purposeful, sustainable brand and business, which is ultimately what, regardless of what size and stage a business is in, is what everybody wants. So that's a little bit about me and the focus areas, and excited to have a chat with everybody today.
Perfect. Thank you. And then last but not least, Hussein.
Thank you, Craig. My name is Hussein Genç. I am a machine learning solutions architect in the private equity part of Amazon Web Services. My focus has been helping private equity firms and their portfolio companies on the adoption of machine learning. And this year, with the kind of the emergence of generative AI, I have been working with many companies in EMEA and APAC and helping them build solutions on AWS.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we have a really strong panel and we've got a really strong theme for today. AI, thinking how it will change brand management for good. I think it's worth starting from the beginning, really. We released an article recently which jokingly suggested that AI was invented in December 2022. We all saw it on social media, everyone come alive with the AI, better looking versions of themselves. But realistically, that's not when AI started. AI can be traced back all the way to the 1950s, with significant journeys in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and in 2010s as well. So given that the zeitgeist has latched onto AI now, but we've got this 70-year-old beast that has been building, why is now the coming of age for this technology? And it'd be great to maybe jump to Hussein first and think about it from a technological perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So as you said, this is not something new, and AWS has been working in last 20 years offering AI/ML services to customers. And although we get the generative AI emerging in this year and last year in December, we have been working with some customers, for example, Nordic Aviation Capital a few years ago, helping them process their aircraft maintenance documentation. Something that takes a lot of time looking at those documentation and deciding where they should go and which ones should be reviewed. So, as you said, this is not something new, but what has changed is the capabilities in recent years and months, and that development speed has increased significantly. And another thing is that the bar to entry has been reduced. So it used to be 10 years ago, you needed to have an IT infrastructure, you need to have a team of specialists, data scientists, engineers working on this. Now a couple of people can just work on a proof of concept, a quick proof of concept by using available tools out there.
Great. I think that's a really nice snapshot of why we feel this momentum now. Viv, are you seeing that with your C-suite clients that you consult with? Has the tone changed? Has the momentum built?
Oh, 100%. And it's top of mind for everybody, whether it's how they're already building off existing AI technology that they're using, or they're selling as part of their products and services. And a bit of an arms race in terms of that side of the technology battle, which I am not an expert in, but certainly is always a point of conversation alongside the impact it will have on the workforce, as well as, how pervasive it is. I think that's the thing that people, the question is around, like, why is it now? It's because anyone who has a phone or smart device or is connected to the internet is using some form of AI. And so it's basically in our daily lives. It's inescapable. We depend on it. And it's very difficult for people to sort of understand exactly how integrated it is, but it's 100% there. And primarily with sort of, if you think about finance clients, most people think about their money being safe and being, trusting banks or financial institutions. And so much of what's running these platforms or the technology infrastructure is driven by this emerging technology, it's ironic that they call it emerging technology because it's not really emerging anymore either. But it's a kind of incredibly powerful set of capabilities, as Hussein was mentioning. And I think people are only just starting to understand what the implications and impact of that might mean, even though theoretically many people have seen it coming for a long time. But the real world impact is now starting to sort of be felt by everybody on a daily basis, because our phones know so much about us. Everything that's being served by Netflix, Spotify, Apple, whoever it is, Google, is being done by AI. And they know all our secrets, they know all our dislikes and likes, and that's sort of incredible, but it's also terrifying, I think, which is why it's such a big topic at the moment.
And I think that topic extends really through the entire organization. I mean, you're seeing it at C-level strategy creation. It ends up in the hands of users. And Rebecca, it'd be great to think about how design is changing because of that.
So I think, or we believe definitely that our design work will be improved in terms of we are getting faster. So we are having more speed in producing designs. We have hopefully less costs. And we expect also, kind of the less need for external suppliers, to be honest. So because we will be able to create designs really quickly also in-house and much faster. And also when you think about ideation, it's really helpful because we can now create multiple design variations without much effort, right? And without investing too much time and costs. So this will definitely change. And also the way we create, kind of high quality brand design. That means we need to kind of train the AI in a way that it produces designs that are compliant to our brand. So this is the main challenge, I think. So we are not there still. So this is still a way to go, but this is definitely the vision. So it means that I really can create in no time various designs, but the outcome of the designs will be fitting to my brand. So this is the main challenge, because at the moment, of course, I can create any kind of designs, but they would not be helpful for, not brand compliant. They will look like, I don't know, anything else and be not unique for the Bosch brand, for example. Yeah. But the way we create images, designs, assets like marketing assets, and also re-editing these kind of things will be super fast in the future. And it saves us definitely time and costs.
Yeah, and you nod really well to the talent change that's happening there, which is a perfect segue to John. How are you seeing this come into the conversations around EVP and employer brands?
So, our key client audience are HR directors and global talent directors, and none of them are risk takers. And they sort of grab us by the hand and go, "What's this AI revolution?" And we go, "Well, actually, it's not a revolution. Yes, it's a bit of a perfect storm, but I think it was the Sherman report that said 88% of companies worldwide were already using AI before COVID. So, we reassure them to say, look, this isn't revolution, this is evolution, but quicker. And therefore you don't have to panic. As the panel has already said, the technology is getting better and better and will continue to do so. Businesses are being driven, they're expected to grow and keep growing. And within that, improving efficiency is key. So it's being driven from the top. It's also being driven from the bottom. From a talent point of view, certainly since COVID, employee expectations have changed considerably. They expect better engagement at every stage of the employment life cycle, and they expect a better outcome in terms of employment experience. So otherwise they'll take their talent elsewhere. So there's a top-down, bottom-up bit. For the squeeze middle, the HR and the marketing departments, as always, are expected to deliver more with less year on year. So that's the sort of perfect storm. We're also seeing a bit of a momentum thing as more organizations embrace AI to speed up the recruiting process, for example, or it's really valuable in building your employer reputation, both upstream and across your organization and across all geographies in a much more cohesive way. So there's real value in it. But if you're not doing the same thing as maybe some of your competitors, you run the risk of being left behind and losing competitive edge. So there is a sort of a momentum element to it as well.
I think that does feel like the theme that we've been seeing as well. It's not that AI is going to take over everything. However, the person equipped with the knowledge and ability to use and leverage AI tools is probably going to be able to eclipse the person who doesn't and who can't. So that feels pretty consistent. Speaking of robots, it's pretty easy to project a world where we're all subservient to a master robotic race. We've seen the Hollywood movies, looks quite scary, some of it, and a lot of the AI conversation still feels pretty science fiction. But for everyone running a business, whether you're running an HR team, whether you're a CEO, whether you're trying to merge businesses together, we have today to think about. We've got this month, this quarter, this financial year. It'd be great to understand what all of this relatively new energy around AI has done for planning in the businesses you work with, either your own or clients in your case. Dave, how are you seeing people's reaction to this in terms of how they can plan strategically?
I think it is tricky because it's not, things are happening at a speed that I think if I'm going to be honest, many C-suite leaders are not used to, and they don't really understand the way it's going to impact their own jobs. And, it's very different. We have this dichotomy with some of our clients who are, founders and at kind of the cutting edge of technology and innovation, and they're all in. They really understand it. They're really driving this growth and this change, and it's so part of the kind of muscle of their business, and so it is fundamentally part of what they are creating as well as how they operate as a business. So AI becomes just a very core function and a very core necessity of how they're running their businesses. But then you look at sort of big corporations and listed companies, and it's a struggle because there's areas of their business where AI has been highly adopted, particularly in financial services. If you think about anything that is from a trading, capital markets operation, that's all. So much of that involves elements of AI and machine learning. But there's so many back office functions which are really going to be impacted by the efficiencies that will be brought to bear at some point. And so John's point about the squeeze is real, but I think it's also is going to impact people who have highly educated backgrounds, because so much of whether you're a solicitor or an accountant or a sort of an operations head or someone in HR, a lot of what can be done, or certainly elements of those roles, are going to be subsumed by AI. And I think that understanding that and how it impacts the business, of course, there's going to be longer term cost efficiencies, but there's also massive impacts, and that level of transformation, change management, transition, even through to talent and succession planning is very, very tricky for large organizations to manage. And
I agree.
They don't have the infrastructure in place to tackle something quite yet of this scale. So in terms of sort of business strategy and helping people navigate this, a lot of it is going to be through very clear stepwise change and very clear KPIs and reporting lines back to the C-suite and the board of how exactly they're going to start managing this process of change in their own businesses.
It's interesting because you alluded to the difference between white collar, blue collar jobs in traditional language. And I think that there is a theme. There's definitely been a theme that AI will come for our jobs, but not our jobs, those jobs. And people have been projecting those jobs and lower priority jobs for quite a while now. And I do wonder if some of that zeitgeist coming of age is about people thinking, oh, it might actually be my job. That people have been quite interested in. John, is that changing how you think employers are going to market with their brand?
I think looking internally, one of the key things that we're trying to impress on our clients is, there is threat and opportunity in equal measure in any business change, and we can help them maximise the opportunities and mitigate or eliminate all of the threats. But internally, that narrative to the staff, you don't want your whole talent attraction team or all of your recruitment team, for example, to head for the exit, because the way that you've talked about AI has made them feel obsolete. And the benefit of AI is that those really talented recruiters or talent attraction professionals can spend their time adding more value to the process, but all of the mundane volume tasks are taken care of. So there's a really careful threat opportunity, you're part of the future picture that needs to be inherent in there. I think that yes, we're already using it as an agency, as I said, but the key thing about clients is, yes, look at the possibilities. For God, this isn't a gold rush. Don't go rushing to try and, create a brave new world. If it's good business, then it needs good business planning, robust measurement, good project management, understanding of the risks. And there's risks inherent everywhere. There's different legal requirements dependent on which legal entity you're operating in. There's elements of risk around copyright or the lack of it, around data protection, around if you don't do it properly, how it might damage your SEO. And whatever is 90-something% of job searches start with a Google search. You don't want to be adversely affected because you haven't handled, you haven't delivered the AI in the right way, which would have not adversely affect your SEO. So I think, it's a means to an end, not an end in itself. Stop, pause. How's it going to benefit your people? How does it benefit the customer? And how does it how does it benefit the bottom line? And then set really clear objectives. At DNA, we love a cheesy phrase. And for this one, is plan carefully, execute with flair, and measure everything. And you don't have to change the world overnight. You don't have to rush headlong into this. You don't have to eat the elephant all in one go. You can eat it in manageable chunks from a position of strength if you do it in the right way.
I think that's a really good point. And I guess by some contrast, Hussein, you will be seeing some people you work with absolutely in a revolution rather than just an evolution.
Yeah, exactly. And in a way, it is that revolution starts with an idea of business transformation, and most of our customers, and alongside with us, we look at what capabilities AI added to their business, and this year, we talked about generative AI capabilities, and those capabilities has been create new content, analyze the content, and summarize the existing content, editing and question answering. And that's really actually impacted some of the customers. In one case, we are working with a customer who has been taking the scientific research publications and almost translating them to plain English, summarizing them in plain English. And it used to take, this process would take a month for them to do that. With generative AI, you can see how that business is impacted for them. And it is important to understand that it is going to have the effect on the people who are working. Now their jobs changed. It doesn't necessarily disappear, but they can focus on on different things and reduce that time to market. It is really how you act is actually if you are creating an opportunity or risk for yourself. In some cases, if your competitors are acting and you are not, then it creates a risk. But majority of the time, what we are seeing is that people don't talk about the reducing the workforce, but they mostly talk about enhancing the capabilities and increasing the productivity at hand.
I think that's a really good point to remember, because enhancing and augmenting human intelligence and human skills with machine skills and intelligence, we've been here before. A couple of 100 years ago, none of us would be sitting here able to enjoy the heat wave for the next few days, because we'd all be in the fields bringing the harvest in. Machinery changed that. Agricultural revolution changed that. It allowed us to sit on a Wednesday afternoon on a webinar. There's pros, there are cons. I think part of it is about deciding which bits we feel are important that are left with human input. And Rebecca, I assume you've got a really strong view on the design and creativity process and how that fits the divide between human and machine.
Yes, definitely. Basically, we do not just hand over our design work to a machine, right? That would not work. So, if we do that for our brand, maybe it's possible technically, but in the end, it would not really help us, because in the end, we would probably lose valuable trust and lose control over the brand experience for our stakeholders. So, and it would be not authentic anymore, what we create for Bosch. So we cannot just hand over, that's not possible. But what we can do is train the machine in a way that it really helps us increasing our brand experience and also the efficiency when we create assets to communicate with our brand on a visual level. That means in our brand design context, we really try to, as I mentioned, train the AI for our imagery style, for example, and all our brand elements like the colors, a specific style, specific also when we generate graphics, we do that in a specific or certain style. So this is what we are aiming for, and then we can definitely use the machine for our benefit. To really help us in our daily work and help us to represent Bosch on a visual level. Also, a Bosch brand that will be really perceived as a leading tech company as we aim to be perceived. So it's really important for us here to train the machine, but we do not hand over our design work to a machine, but we just need to learn to master it. So that would be my opinion here.
Thank you. I think that it nods to a real complexity. Viva, I know a lot of your clients run really complex businesses with lots of data, with lots of fast processes. Do you think some of them are hesitant about how much they hand over to machine intelligence just now because of that complexity?
I think so. I think there's hesitance in like a practical sense, because perhaps they don't fully understand the implications or the consequences, but there is a regulatory kind of implication. I think, your question to Rebecca about the creativity and innovation side is really interesting, because I do think the benefit of AI is that it's going to allow for time to be spent on things that machines can't do. So tasks that, innovation, thinking, creativity, ideation, there's going to be areas of explosion that machines just simply cannot fulfill those capabilities in the same ways that human beings can. And as you said, it's to work hand in hand. And this is another form of an industrial revolution. And brands are going to, I think, benefit, as well as end users and customers are going to benefit hugely from that side of it, because their experience is going to be better. It's going to be more personalized, more bespoke. And I think it's going to force a level of integrity and real purpose and values-based organizations to a higher standard than what currently exists. So that's going to be a sort of interesting shift, and in my view, a necessary one. And we keep trying to advise our clients, like, you put your money where your mouth is, or just don't say anything. So from a communication standpoint, pretty important not to just write some beautiful values on a wall and offer great snacks and drinks, but actually, you know, trying to move in the direction where you can actually live those values and create a culture that is true to that. And it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also, we're in a bit of an extreme age at the moment, but as everyone's talked about, you know, it's both evolution and revolution. And I think it's going to be important to allow some flexibility, but also a level of adaptation that's required in order for us to continue to be able to have those communities and human interactions that are kind of fundamental to what it is to be a human being. And I think brands will have to work harder to build those engagements, but they will be more authentic, truer engagements.
And I think the conversation about readiness is a really interesting one. We're going to share a poll for everyone in the audience to interact with. But we want to get a gauge from everyone here, a scale of 1 to 5 of just how ready you feel for where AI is going to impact your work in the next 12 months. Are you really unsure how it's going to impact you, or do you have a completely clear understanding of how you're going to activate and put AI to work? So we'll let that poll run in the background. John, I'd love to just riff off of what Viv was saying there and understand about the values piece. How important in the employer brand space is it that employers are seen as embracing new things and embracing change?
I mean, yes, embracing change. I think, you know, Viv's point about, you know, some of the dangers inherent in, you know, in that authenticity piece, where what you're selling on the outside matches the internal reality, is really clear. And, you know, the fact is that a lot, you know, we haven't really had any winners and losers. It's been shades of grey. Everybody sort of got away with it, but it could be black and white. There could be winners and losers, and you could get called out on it. I mean, here at DNA, we're a really flexible, amenable bunch. You know, we're really agile. We wrap ourselves around clients, but we have 3 absolute non-negotiables when developing and implementing an EVP and employer brand. So it's got to be distinct. So it's got to be uniquely you. Can't be somebody else, your competitor, someone down the road. It's got to be authentic, as I've just mentioned, and it's got to be compelling, because this has got to work hard for us. And we're unreasonable in that respect, because they're not just non-negotiables. We've got to have all 3. And in terms of conceiving and implementing what your AI strategy might be, you know, there are red flags in all 3. You know, as Viv said, AI can't make, you know, it can't create those human-inspired creative themes or elements for things like originality, authenticity, true personality, some of the nuancing, humor, sarcasm that goes into some of the creative rationale put together. You know, it's about connection and stimulation and emotional engagement. And, you know, you run the risk that things like, you know, pattern finding and exhaustive research can't replace that essential top-end creative process. And in creativity, quantity in and of itself is not your friend. You know, people don't want to feel that they've been processed. You know, I can't remember, 90-something% of buying decisions based on emotion, not logic. So success is how you make people feel.
It is really interesting. Sorry.
I was going to say, I changed my car insurer last week because I completely fed up with the useless chatbot that, you know, that just gave me a never-ending circles, chatbot to website, chatbot to website. So, you know, it was shocking. So they are no longer my car insurer, and the same applies in the talent world. I think it was Career Plug did a survey. 49% of candidates declined job offers due to that poor experience. And wherever you are on this webinar, don't let that be you.
Yeah, it's a really good steer, because I know that there's a lot of conversation just now about replacing, and we've all mentioned here about the power of actually using machine intelligence to augment human capabilities. I've seen it work a couple of different ways. About 2 hours ago, we were unveiling internally an engine that we built which can write. I almost said who can write. We're treating it like a which can write sarcastic comments, it can write humorous comments, it can write sensitively delivered comments, and it's really starting to take on a personality. And then it went wrong, it went rogue. and it broke. Really interesting because we keep making kind of 2 or 3 steps forward and then 2 or 3 steps back, and we're getting there. But Hussein, I'm really interested to see where you see the best examples of human plus machine just now.
I think before that, the part about trusting, not trusting the machine learning or AI itself, it is important to understand the shortcomings of the capabilities, right? And this has been taught. It is nothing new. The things like hallucination, bias that is coming from data that can actually put people in disadvantage, copyrights and data privacy. And we have seen all these examples within 6 months of bad examples, and how to deal with them. So it is important that it is understood, well understood, and then the risks are mitigated. In many cases, for example, when we are working with customers, specifically search metrics, we work with them building generative AI solutions on the search documents, trying to extract keywords from the documents that are being searched. It doesn't always mean that, as we talked about it, like remove all the humans from this, and then what you are going to get a perfect, solution that is going to work for everyone. It is important we recognize the shortcomings, as I said, and then put a human in the loop for reviewing these documents. Make sure that everything is tested rigorously. Tested, people understand what they are doing. It is going to be important. This is not only on the developers or technology people to understand this. You need to understand where your data is going, and this is the kind of the part that is going to be important for end users. Most of the companies are going to have multiple generative AI solutions that will have different type of data classifications and how they are going to be used. So it is going to be important for everyone who is using solution to understand that as well. Should I put the customer data in this chatbot or in that chatbot? Is it going to go and leak into someone else's data? For example, will it be retrained with this data so that I will know Craig's bank account details if I go and ask to a chatbot? Those are the important parts. It is not only, as I said, the tech problem, but it's important that we mitigate those problems.
Yeah, and I think that there are so many questions, and our poll is doing a really good job of reflecting that uncertainty. I think nearly half of people are in the middle with a 3, but 80% are a 2, 3, or a 4, with very few people saying they're completely unsure or they have a complete understanding. So I think that level of uncertainty around the number of questions that people have is really, really important. And one of the things we're hoping to do with these series of webinars and the thought leadership articles we're producing is it's probably to ask the questions more than answer them all just now with that rate of change. Rebecca, I know that you were talking in one of our pre-calls about your organization being so big, and actually what you work on is in one part of it. But there's lots of people like you doing the things you're doing in lots of other parts. How does a big organization like Bosch pool all of the learnings together?
Yeah, so basically we set up a regular exchange for all the designers, for example, and also marketeers who are trying to find out how to use AI in their fields of work, but also to address all the questions at once, because at the moment, or in the past, it was more like that every one of them was sitting by themselves in their units and divisions worldwide alone, and all of them have the same questions, right? So what we are doing now is bring them all together and discuss it on a regular basis. So this is what we already started. We have a monthly exchange for every designer and marketeer who is interested in this field. And so we come together online, and it doesn't matter where this person sits, in what kind of division, in what kind of region worldwide. So it's a really open exchange here, and we try to address all the risks, all the questions, and bring in the experts we need. For example, as I said before, from legal department, because we need some expert lawyers who can answer all the questions. Something like, can I use AI-generated image for marketing purpose for my external use cases or touch points without any problems or copyright issues, etc.? And which kind of tool can we train with our imagery style? And for example, what happens if I upload any kind of Bosch assets, like a certain Bosch product image, to an open AI tool? So what happens then? So is it still secure? Can I do that with my data, with my assets? Is it in any way harmful for Bosch and the brand? So these are the terms we discussed there, and try to find solution and address the problems and the uncertainties we all have. And then we come up, hopefully, with a clear do and don't list, and have a checklist for everyone and FAQs, so that everyone knows in the end where to look up when they have a certain use case and they're not sure if it's okay or not. And what is also interesting, that we managed to address it in a higher management level. That means it was clear that the open ChatGPT is fine and everyone tries it out by themselves with a private account, but it's not really working for the Bosch enterprise context. So what we are doing now, or what is developing Bosch in general, is an own kind of ChatGPT, but for Bosch purposes. So it will be another Bosch GPT version, what is kind of secured, and so that every Bosch employee worldwide can use it for the Bosch purposes without any kind of risk. So because it's a secured environment where we can use the same technology, but without the risk to bring in anything into the open AI world, what should maybe not be there, and needs to be secured in our enterprise level. So that means Bosch partnered up with a startup there, with a German startup, to bring up this technology. And so I think that will be a game changer for us, and it will be ready by end of the year. And then we will see how we can use that, for example. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of that coming. If I had children at university just now, I'd be saying, switch your major, build a large language model. That's what you need to be doing. So it's great to hear you guys building on that. We're going to open up to some audience questions as well. So if you're watching and have a question, please pop it into the chat feature. We'll ask as many as we can. And just while we let a few of those questions come in, I'm going to just do a quick round robin and ask each of the panelists for their overall outlook. What do you think 2024 is going to bring? And are you excited? Are you cautious? How do you feel? John, let's start with you.
Okay, apologies. The school around the corner is just thrown out. Okay. So you're not so excited voices going past after the first day of term. So I think we're going to have a lot of clients thinking there's potential in this. How do I maximise it? And as always, they're going to, you need to engage with internal stakeholders, and then you need a reliable guide, whether internal or external, to take you through this process. We talked before about the perfect storm, and the momentum that's driving this. So, the future's here now. It's not going to wait for everybody to catch up. So understand where you stand, and how much time, effort, and commitment you're going to invest in this. But, it's like I said, it's a means to an end, not an end in itself. So set objectives. What's it going to do for our people, our customers, our business, our bottom line? What are the measurable outcomes? So if you're going to put time and effort, and money and all sorts into this, you're going to have to prove some level of ROI. So that's what you need as a benchmark. We're already seeing it, but what 24 is going to show, there's a lot of old tech that's now being dressed up as AI. So there's a buyer beware bit as far as that's concerned. There's a bright, new, shiny, untested something hitting the market every day that's probably going to hit the market a little bit too soon. And as we saw when lots of people bought ATSs that they thought was going to transform their life, had it been the right ATS, it probably would have done. But I think we're going to see more of that, where people have maybe bought in an uncautious way. And for DNA, one of our biggest new business streams is where clients have tried to develop their EVP or their employer brand or implement it globally, and it's hit the buffers. I don't see that changing. I think they might get so far, and I think we need a reliable guide to set us up for success. So, yes, we want to take control. We want to be autonomous, but we just need to be set up for success in the right way. So,
right.
We're feeling pretty good at it. It can be really cool, but it can be really disappointing and even dangerous in some situations.
Thank you. Rebecca, 2024, what does it hold for Bosch, do you think?
I think that we will be ready to enable all our designers and marketeers to create and edit any kind of assets and images in our specific Bosch imagery style, and to really have enabled everyone. Hopefully, I don't know if it's feasible within 1 year, but we will see. But I think it will be possible, and that we are able to partner up with some major leading tools, like, for example, Adobe Firefly. If you heard about that, for example, we are talking already with them. If they can help us to train their specific AI when it comes, for example, for text-to-image creation or image editing. And I'm really excited to do that, and it will be a next level. And I'm sure this will be in 2024 an integral part of our field of work, and it will be applied on a daily basis.
Thank you. Hussein, 2024, what do you think? Where do you even begin in a company like AWS?
Well, I wouldn't even make any technology predictions for next 3 months, let alone, a year in advance. And the pace of development increased, really fast. That I don't know how the technology will look like, but I think the part that is going to be important is these technologies will start integrating with all majority of existing solutions at every level, both for us and our customers. And then, as always, the after hype cycle comes the part that customers start building and releasing that solution to their own customers.
Thank you. Viv, what would you like to add to that for 2024?
Oh, it's tough. You put me last. I would say I think you're going to see a huge amount of assumption and upskilling that needs to happen. So people sort of assuming, oh, can't you just put this into some kind of AI and then all of a sudden you know how to be a graphic designer? It's like, well, I could probably do that, but I'm not sure it would make me a good graphic designer. So there's going to be a lot of that sort of capability and upskilling that will happen naturally, which is, I don't think, a bad thing. And I think lots of people will broaden out their skill set because of what the AI technology will allow. I think one thing we obviously haven't talked about is, 2024 is a big election year, both in the US and the UK. And I think there will be some major outcomes and consequences that AI will have played a major part in. So at the moment, everyone's sort of, the last set of elections, AI probably did play a role in, but perhaps not at the same scale or acceleration that it could impact things in next year's elections. So, or what's happening geopolitically, which I think people are sort of starting to become acutely aware of. And I think that's a real thing. That we should all be thinking about in terms of how that's going to impact markets, businesses, people, economies. So that's I think a reality of what might be happening, and a little bit leaning into what John said. I think there's perhaps past 2024, there's going to be a bit more of a boom and bust cycle, with regards to some AI technologies, because it is already integrated into so many things, but I think in time, there are definitely going to be winners and losers on the tech side. It will become a bit more like a .com situation where you can't simply have every technology or every company that's releasing technology will make money out of it or will be successful. So I think that there will be
we can't all win.
There will be a saturation point. I don't think we're there yet. And I think those are the big sort of, not that I'm a futurist, but those are the big things I can see coming, certainly for 2024 and perhaps even 2025.
We've got a question that I'd like to stay with you, Viv, for, because Becky has asked, how do you think ethics and morality factors into implementing AI in a brand strategy? And you talk there a little bit about political access and democracy, but on a wider basis, ethics and morals, where are we? Where are we heading?
Oh, we are in like such a tricky place, I think. I think a lot of the traditional ways of thinking, not to say that ethics and morals didn't exist before, but I think the way that people operated before was very assumptive, and there was a kind of status quo. And I think a lot of that is turning and changing, which is not a bad thing. But I think also senior leaders, particularly who are of a certain generation or a certain age, are really grappling with this because they are being faced to make decisions about cultural norms and changes that are happening that they don't even fully understand. I think there are such huge kind of morality challenges and debates that, I mean, I don't want to call them issues, but challenges and debates that come through because of what's happening with whether it's regards to how people want to live their lives, their beliefs, what's acceptable, what is deemed professional, personal, types of behaviors. And I think that is very tricky. And so for brands, I think there tends to be sort of two spectrums or two sides to the spectrum. There's like an abundance of caution on one side where people are just like literally afraid to say or do anything. And they just sort of stick to their kind of principles and values, and everyone's kind of in lockdown. And then there's the other side where people are taking like bold moves and really embracing certain things and trying to move more into the sort of ESG side of things. Now, again, that's kind of a murky territory because almost every company has some kind of ESG strategy or set of objectives, and not very many of them are delivering. The truth is, like, it's a very low percentage of corporations that are actually, even remotely getting close to delivering against their ESG KPIs. So it is a very difficult time at the moment. And I do feel for leaders because, they're very honest with us, and they basically tell us like, it's kind of a nightmare at the moment. And, you're kind of damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you're not really sure what you're allowed to say or do. And so many things that are important to people are moving into the professional or organizational spaces where people want to work for brands and companies that stand by what they said they believe in and, what they're trying to sell to consumers or customers. And that bridging that delta is very challenging at the moment. And you don't see very many companies doing it well, if I'm honest. But I do think that with any of these sort of what goes down must come up. So if we're at a low point now, or we're not at a brilliant point, it will improve because the standards will force that. People will force those ethical standards to get better.
Thank you. We've got a whole bunch of questions. I want to jump straight into one from Mark. And Rebecca, I might ask you for kind of a quick response on this. I would definitely start by saying, how do we start this AI journey in design? How do we train an AI on our visual identity? And what tools are there in the design space? I wouldn't be doing my job properly, of course, if I didn't say Paperfly is a tool. You can speak to your account manager about our generative AI tools and how we are doing that. But one of our favorite customers, of course, Bosch, it would be great to hear, Rebecca, how you started on that journey.
So definitely we gathered together and collected some use cases, what are really important for us, and we just prioritize with what kind of use case would we start. And the most beneficial one would be, for example, text-to-image generation with our specified brand imagery style guide. That means we already have the Bosch imagery style guide, and it's defined with a clear set of the lighting, the color, the tone, warm, cold tone, whatever, and composition. And we discussed, for example, with Adobe Firefly and tested it also with Midjourney and also with Google, what kind of possibilities are there to train their AI, because they are kind of already having a leading technology there, and they're developing that. And they told us it might be ready or possible in the beginning of next year. and we are part of their development. So we are testing and giving all the requirements. And but it's based on your existing parameters. So that means you need an existing imagery style, for example, for the images, an illustration style if you want to create illustrations in a certain way for your brand. The same for video style, for example. And so we are talking with Adobe, Midjourney, and Google at the moment, and trying to find out, okay, where can we develop this further, and how much would it cost, of course. So that is also kind of an important factor here. So it's not for free, it's not developed by itself. So we need to invest time, effort, and of course money. But it's an invest, because in the end, afterwards, in the long term, it will save us a lot of money and effort. So and of course, for when it comes to asset creation, creating layouts, we already have a layout creator from Paperfly. Of course, the next step would be here to find out how can we bring in AI to generate the layouts more quicker, and also based on our style guides. For example, now with Paperfly, I can just quickly create a social media asset, like for postings or stories or something like that, by myself. So that's existing already for all our employees. But the next step would be now, how can we train an AI to, based on our social media style guide, and we just push one button in the future, tell it what we need, and the AI would create, for example, multiple variations of the social media post. But it's always based on our already existing style guide for Bosch. So.
Yeah, Rebecca, you are giving away some of my roadmap, but we're running out of time. I just want to ask a very quick double question. So this is based on Matthew and Matt, actually. Hussein, both are asking for some kind of quick early actions, quick actionable ways that they can get involved in this now so they're not left behind. What would be your top tip?
Top tip is inspect your business, understand where your exposure is to AI, and then start thinking about how you can address it. Because right now technology is accessible. Anyone, individuals, companies can access this technology, build solutions. The important part is to find the use case, identify that, and make sure that you are delivering value with generative AI, not just, experimenting for the sake of it.
Fantastic. Thank you. One last question for everyone, just a quick fire round. Who are you backing? Team human, team robots? Hussein?
Selfishly humans.
Rebecca?
Humans, definitely.
Viv?
Yeah, definitely humans.
John?
I think it's a happy marriage of both, where we understand it's not about the technology, it's what it can do for us.
There's always one that chooses both, but I'll let you off with it. Guys, thank you so much. What a great panel. We have another webinar coming up on the 11th of October, so please keep your eyes peeled for that. And in the meantime, just allow me to say thank you so much to John, to Vivian, to Rebecca, and to Hussein. I hope that's been really useful for everyone on the call today. Any questions, get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Craig.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.